I do feel these two teams together, though, they're a real test for each other in so many different ways, where both regions have struggled internationally, but being able to see them against each other really feels like an almost even matchup. Black Dragons, obviously, with that game lead, they're obviously the favourites now and seem to have the leg up, but I don't think Athletico's just going to roll over game 2.
No, I don't think so either, but that has got to be Cutie Pie, their coach right there, to really keep them on an even keel, because that is a tilter when you lose a game like that, whenever you feel like, you stole Fire Giant, you're ahead, you're sieging, you get triple killed by MarcelZ, it all goes Pete Tong, if you will. You got to stay even keel right there, and I just don't know that Athletico is going to do it.
Let's find out if they can do anything different in this game, because I will say, like, up to that moment where it came to major team fights around objectives is where they really struggled most. For both teams, to be fair.
Yeah, both did.
But it was definitely a bloodbath. Black Dragons, though, will be first pick, first ban this time. Athletico, after losing that game, they get the option of whether they want to pick first or second. They've chosen second.
Interesting. I mean, there was Chernobog and Athena open last game. I think the Chernobog Ratatoskr 1-2 punch from Black Dragons on the return is the first 2 picks was huge for them.
And is that why Athletico maybe want Ratatoskr for themselves?
Maybe. Black Dragons might have to ban it away, and we'll see if that's what they decide to do. I will say that the game felt like it was Athletico's, but it really, Black Dragons was treading water very well. The one team fight where it looked like, oh man, Athletico is actually here to play, is where they insta-kill Nann. And by they, I mean Tekzy. Insta-kills Nann when Nann had relics and ult up. He gets 1v1'd, separated from the rest of the team fight. And that's the only fight that Athletico convincingly won. It's a grouped up 5-on-5. After that, Nann was able to stay alive, and Black Dragons crushed Athletico after that. So if I'm Black Dragons, I'm telling Nann, you got to stay safe. If I'm Athletico, I'm giving Tekzy another pick that can be very aggressive and kill him early. Giannis,
Chernobog, the first 2 bans so far. Back over to Black Dragons. These sort of positions, you can almost see most of the time a throwaway ban in this one, so you're not going to pick for yourself, and you just don't want to have to deal with.
Artemis is option, but I think that I'm trying to take that if I'm Black Dragons. I don't want to ban that myself. This is a good opportunity to ban Zhong, to ban Thoth. I think Thoth is likely the one that I'd be looking at here to ban. I don't know. I just am not that scared of Zhong right now. The times that he has gotten through so far at this land have not been particularly impressive. So I think that you can almost bait Athletico into leaving open Zhong and Artemis, try and get one of the two, and then take what I think is the clearly better selection in Artemis.
Well, you mentioned the Tough, it will get banned out there, no real surprise. But at the same time, you mentioned about Addons' position in team fights. Tough's probably the most difficult one to position well, because if you make one small step, you're going to be in trouble.
Very much so, and still has that long-range dash, so if you are minding yourself defensively, I think Athletico just fell for the trap right there, literally, as well, because Artemis getting through is exactly what Black Dragons really wanted. I know Athena's good, but I still think I'd much rather play against Athena than Artemis right now. It's just so difficult to predict what she's going to bring in that duo lane.
Terra first pick from Athletico here, and the Ratatoskr. The Ratatoskr is the one we kind of expected here from this counterban phase. They do seem to like their Terra, these Australians.
Yeah, a little bit early in my mind, but again, Shank had a bad day 1. Much better there in game 2, or day 2, I should say, in game 1 of this set against Black Dragons. If he needs a Terra to feel comfortable and to, not go 0-12 or whatever he was against the United, sure. I'll pick Anubis first if that's going to be your best god, and that's going to give us our best chance to win.
Now Terra's been locked in, though. We've seen a little bit more Khepri play when Terra's been on the table, too, so we'll find out if that does come through from the Black Dragons here. Pretty solid with Artemis as well for wave clear purposes in the early stages, but it doesn't necessarily have to be picked right now. Black Dragons with a lot of decisions for themselves here. Don't necessarily have to get a jungler too unless they don't want it banning away. Maybe look towards the mid lane.
Look towards the mid lane, get something for Nann right now. Giannis, Thoth, both banned, so could be looking at something like an Agni. Discordia, Mercury, this selection. And there is the Khepri. I really do like that Khepri pick. I think it's really solid with Artemis and with Mercury. Specifically with Mercury, because even when you aren't using that Scarab's Blessing to res the Mercury, it gives movement speed, which translates to power for Mercury. So you can, it's your go have fun button where they can't kill you and you do more damage that entire time.
So now Athletico, knowing they were against this Khepri and the Mercury, what would you like to see to shore up this team now? I mean, you're looking there and you're like, well, two very physical characters that are going to swing in the late game with crit more than likely. It's going to be Zhong.
I do not like this Zhong selection. And look, if this is going to work for Athletico, I think this has to be in the mid lane. I do not think that you can. Yeah, I don't. You are never frontlining with a hybrid Zhong build against Artemis Mercury. You're just not going to get it done. I also think Khepri is really, really good against Zhong because you just abduct him, you root him from a distance.
Yep.
What's he going to do about it?
And even if he goes to try and pick one person up in that fight, you can still ult them to save them anyway.
Very easily.
Yeah, I don't know about the Zhong pick here. Athletico are going to have to show us that it's going to work. The counter bans coming through. It's Cullen and the Chunga. So by those bans, it does make me feel this Zhong is going solo.
Oh no, I think Athletico just fell into the trap that Black Dragons was really setting for them. They get 3 very strong picks early on, and now Athletico picks the one solo laner that really cannot handle. I mean, he has to go Midgardian Male, Nemean Lion, a Breastplate of Valor. Like, you need maybe a Spectral Armor would be a good pickup. I think that if you go Midgardian, Nemean, Spectral, that's half your item slots. You can frontline against Artemis Mercury, but only in that situation.
Could be interesting to see Black Dragons go for the Poseidon in this game too. We've seen Poseidon here or there now and again. Does shut down Terra quite a bit and slow down the Zhong. Discordia banned away by the Black Dragons and Athletico. More than likely in the mid and their Hunter here. Hunter options, I was going to say, you could have seen the Ant here. It's pretty good against the Artemis, but it will be the Medusa this time now.
I like it. A lot of times your Petrify in lane will just get leaped over. You know, it's got a long wind up, and in order to catch someone by surprise, you need to know that their jump is down. Artemis doesn't have a leap, so you can use that Petrify basically just as a 50% slow. Oh no, I did a lot of damage and slowed them for a bunch with it. Medusa's really, really strong.
Kliz going to be going the Amaterasu, one of his tried, true, tested, and loved gods that we've seen plenty out of him. And Nann will just default to the Ra in the mid lane. This composition from Black Dragons on paper, solid.
Love it. Love it. Tons of CC, tons of range,
tons
good
of safety
from the Khepri, tons of protection. This is a great draft from Black Dragons. I think that Athletico could take a second Ratatoskr here and still have a worse draft than their opposition.
And I'm kind of looking at what Athletico could do now. I mean, they can move the Zhong to mid lane still and put someone else into the solo lane against the Amaterasu. If it is Zhong solo, though, is he going to get too pressured by an Amaterasu anyway?
No, it's more that Ama's there to have an okay laning phase and then dominate the mid game wherever Zhong is still good, but Ama is just going to, without any sort of pressure from Zhong, should be able to run away with that lane pretty easily.
Double Hunter.
Double Hunter. I just don't think you're ever out DPSing a Mercury Artemis in Double Hunter composition. A lot of times what Double Hunter compositions want to do is group up, take objectives, but also try and spread out team fights and 1v1 a couple different people at the same time. You are losing those 1v1s. It does provide more consistent damage. What Khepri really excels at is taking your ultimate cooldown and a big ability cooldown away from you by where you think you're getting a kill. Instead, it resets that person, and now you're out of cooldowns. Hunters don't have to worry about that nearly as much, so that is a positive for them. But I still think that Athletico is going to have some trouble here. I just don't think that anyone's going to be able to withstand the damage from Art and Merc.
Does feel it's going to be Medusa mid lane here, not the Jing Wei, I would say. Just based off Terra Jing Wei being such a good combo together against the Artemis and Khepri. I think that's going to be important. Who do you guys at home, though, think will find the victory here? Athletico still looking for their first victory on the international stage for Oceania. Black Dragons looking to put this one to bed and move on to tomorrow.
I think Black Dragons won this draft hand over fist.
I agree.
I think that Athletico, they already had an uphill battle playing against a more experienced team. I think it just became a mountain that they have to try and climb.
But maybe they can get their hiking boots on then, because
maybe
it's not over till the Fat Lady sings. I'm not started just yet, so we'll get to that point momentarily. Athletico need to win 2 games back-to-back, and they're going to be up against it. Let's get it over to Efta and Anatoly for Game 2.
Thanks a lot, Graham. Thanks a lot, Ryan. Thanks a lot, Black Dragons, for the comeback and making the game number 1 exciting. Athletico right here. You heard the analysts, commentators. They do a little bit of both. But hopefully Athletico can do a little bit of both as they've lost game number 1. Looking forward to game number 2. But like Ryan said, uphill battle. Black Dragons' draft here is gnarly.
It's risky. Athletico's double hunter draft has some merit to it. Aggro said on the desk how the double hunters are looking to 1v1 different targets, but actually, I think in late game fights, whoever the Mercury goes on, those two hunters are going to try to blow him up.
Yeah.
But Black Dragons, they have PIBE to give zGonnZ that secondary life. PIBE has to be hyper-focused when zGonnZ uses that Sonic Boom because he's going to need it. There's a lot of late game burst damage he'll receive against Addons, against Zaze, and even if Oscha is still in the backline.
I've always liked Medusa middle lane. I think that what Medusa middle lane does is she's the most mage-like hunter. And I always say that Hebo in the jungle is just an assassin and there's no difference. I'm not going to go that far, but I think that Medusa is one of my favorite hunters in the middle lane. She's got that team fight ultimate, but with the Viper Sting change, she also can be that hunter late game. So I'm excited to kind of watch Addons and see what he does with this Medusa, because Medusa mid doesn't strike me as double hunter as when you see the Uller in the middle lane. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's more of a hybrid.
It's definitely important to try to take advantage of the immobile Raw. If you can land that Medusa dash, root him in place, use those Viper shots, and speaking of using some shots,
Nice
the body blocks
blocks
from Shank. PIBE forced to use the shell. Get off of me, he says.
Yeah, Shank right there, just looking like an early Scottie Pippins, zoning and screening, really clean. Early beads out of Tekzy as zGonnZ wraps him up. Level 2 for our junglers in both in the lane. Nice grab by Addons, and Tekzy looking to follow it up. Nice shot coming out from Nann, but zGonnZ could be, and he will be, gone! First blood for the Aussies one more time.
I don't think he had the special delivery up for that one. When you use it offensively, you're not able to escape. Great recognition. Athletico punishing zGonnZ on the early aggression. Normally Mercury's at this point looking for the farm. Those left mids were still available, but after trying to make a play happen around the right mid, you got to bounce back to the mid lane. There was no time to look for additional farming.
Yeah, Mercury rushing those boots, not really going the starter item here like we usually see, sometimes a katana, sometimes even a crit strike item, but instead opting for those booties. So he's going to get the speed. Don't forget, the speed does translate into some power for the Mercury, which is another reason why I love Kliz's selection. This is, I think, an under-thought about interaction between the movement speed boost and Mercury passive.
You're sacrificing the early solo laning phase by going Amaterasu, thinking about the late game team fighting objective controls, and Kliz with the Amaterasu has so much movement speed, has the potential to start team fights with the ultimate, and against such squishy characters like Addons and Zaze, Jing and Medusa, that's going to be a great look from Black Dragons.
And totally, correct me if I'm wrong and go a bit deeper, you're not looking to kill Zhong in lane anyway, right?
You could. Very easily you could. Honestly, like a lot of soul laners won't look for defensive relics with teleport as the option, but Oscha, recognizing he might be the focus, goes for the early level 1 Aegis.
zGonnZ here, going to be chased away again. His beads used again. Right-hand side could be troublesome. Kliz going to deal, and the blue buff does get stolen away by Athletico. Meanwhile, left-hand side, a little bit of a fight. Zaze gets hit. That's going to be enough to trigger the pull.
Oh, wow.
And PIBE and MarcelZ won't be able to find the last hit. Zaze walks away clean.
Rude almost doing the trick, but Zaze still having that health potion ticking, narrowly avoiding death on that one. Would have been the response kill that Black Dragon so desperately needs. And MarcelZ, despite not finding the kill, he's in a great position with this Artemis that doesn't have the best early game compared to some other hunters, but definitely has the better late game. So the transitional period is going to be really good for Black Dragon's hunter.
And don't forget, just a reminder to the fans at home, this isn't the patch y'all are playing on. This is the one where Art still has her crit passive. She's still able to get a little bit lucky.
5.12.
And she's certainly hoping for it. Purple invade. Ooh. Athletico just going to watch as Black Dragons are able to go ahead and invade that one. PIBE feeling good. PIBE also looking better than day number 1. zGonnZ was, I don't know, I was very critical of PIBE, but zGonnZ was sticking out like a sore thumb after game number 1. That certainly turned around, and PIBE looking a little bit better here as well.
The difference between playing Rival and Athletico will do that to you. You're learning from your mistakes in day number 1. Regardless of who you're playing against, you can easily, correct those mistakes and have a way better day number 2. I think the land jitters are now stripped away from some of these players and teams.
That's
They're
it.
now got their settings accustomed to, the positioning of their mouse pads, keyboards, all the little fine little nuances that a competitive gamer's looking for has been resolved.
I mean, I'm kind of chuckling here, but I mean, you're speaking from actual experience, right?
Yes.
All those little things really matter.
So in the interview that I did earlier this week with Rival and United in the same roundtable discussion, PBM was discussing getting himself like a little sleeve, because the way he plays with his mousepad is he needs that kind of anti-friction as well. Like, he needs something to be able to slide against, because like he just doesn't feel right when it's just his skin and hair.
Well, he's got to go for the double sleeve, like late career Carmelo Anthony. That's what he's got to look for. He's got to. I know he's a Melo fan, and I'm not even joking. He's one of the few out there, so PBM does hold a spot close to my heart.
But it's little things like that that players are always looking for.
zGonnZ looking to hold the farm close to his heart. Nann going to strip away at least some of the experience.
Not sure if that would have eliminated Tekzy, but just a quarter second, maybe even 0.1 second too late. But Nann able to destroy that back.
Yeah, really brought us to that minion.
That back harpy stood no chance.
Nann now looking for the turnaround as Addons goes a little bit too deep, but it could be the turnaround. zGonnZ will walk away, but certainly takes a chunk for it. Addons, see you later. Black Dragons get their kill back, and it's a tie game as the mid lane Medusa turns to mulch.
Kliz just waiting till the very last second to use his ultimate. Wanted to see if he can find the kill without it, to still reserve that for maybe a rainy day as he goes back to the solo lane, but also keeping in mind of the middle wave. He hit Shank, I believe, for the second hit. Could have hit him again for the third hit to do more damage, to apply the stun, but there was no follow-up, so he does the next best thing and clears the wave with his third strike.
MarcelZ still going for the booties, building up that Devo gloves secondarily. And again, similar, a different scenario, but the same conversation. Athletico's Hunter going a different route, and this is because of the scenario. Last time, MarcelZ went the boots because he was just getting camped over and over again. That's not the case this time, but still going boots first because he's Artemis. Doesn't have an escape move like the Jing.
That's true. Zaze, on the flip side, recognizes that he would rather just farm up those Devo gloves and keep the wave closer to his own tower. Maybe bait Black Dragons closer to have the global pressure Ratatoskr to clean up the scenario, but there's too much action on the right to make an impact in the Hunter battle.
Another attempted blue buff invade from Athletico. Tekzy does kind of bring zGonnZ down pretty low. Not enough to really get the space that Athletico had wanted for the blue buff, so they will walk away and relinquish control to the Black Dragons, who picked that one up, so Kliz will have a blue buff this time around.
For both of these players, both Kliz and Oscha, playing the Amaterasu and Zhong, they desperately need their blue buff. Holding on to it is important for them to transition to that level 12 marker.
So Kliz just kind of let Oscha back there and talk to me a little bit. I think PIBE will be fine here, unless he gets locked up by the rock. Talk to me a little bit about letting your enemy solo laner farm and back, and don't you want to be a little bit more oppressive?
You definitely do, considering that Oscha didn't go for teleport.
Right.
Since he has the Aegis, it takes about 15 to 25 seconds to get back to the lane, depending on what stage your boots are. Sitting only at tier 2 is going to take on the longer end of that. Kliz missing an opportunity. He was more focused about clearing the wave.
Unceremoniously, Addons falls down in his own jungle, worth noting. Black Dragons coalesce on that red buff like moths to a flame, and Addons will be set ablaze right there. Death number 2 for the mid lane Medusa. MarcelZ knocked up, will take some damage, but sends the enemy Hunter right into the clutches of his team. Wrapped up and wrapped down. Zaze falls to the hand of the Mercury, and Nann just a hair off the mark, but zGonnZ isn't done. He gets the ultimate. Now he's done.
Shank saving the life of his jungler just narrowly. Very unfortunate for Zaze because his airstrike ultimate just now coming off of cooldown. He had no potential escape. He needed to try to find the angle to the tier 2 tower, but he couldn't find it. Too many options cut off, and he couldn't escape the crits. He got crit by MarcelZ in the lane, and then zGonnZ hit him with the one punch, man.
Easy. So far, Athletico, I like that they've been able to still put up a fight. Game very close, right? About 2,000 gold separating our teams. But Athletico is still willing to look for this blue buff invade time and time again. Not this time around, quite obviously, but they've tried. 1,500 to be more precise here, folks. And as we approach 10 minutes, players should be looking more towards. That's why I like what Black Dragons are doing here on the left side of the map, clearing out the oracles, making sure they have vision on this Gold Fury. They saw Athletico were willing to go for those rival objectives, the 50-50, so they want to make sure that they absolutely know if Athletico are going to go for that. The first 2 Gold Fury pulls from Athletico happened when all 5 members of Black Dragons were alive.
It was 15 minutes into the game that Athletico pulled it at the very first game, and there was the only intel that they had was like, oh, okay, I believe that zGonnZ is older on the right side of the map. At best, we'll have a 5-on-4 situation, or at worst, rather. And they took that gamble, and it paid off for them. But then I think it was the second Gold Fury that really started to bite them, where they lost too many members.
Well, here comes help from the jungler on the left side, but he lands right into the trap. MarcelZ, turn and burn, baby. And another help from the jungler. And zGonnZ going to pick that one up as well. Black Dragons.
No beats. No beats from Zaze to be able to disengage from that one. The only way he could survive is if he used that airstrike before the Sonic Boom connects. It's up to Shank to steal this.
And he's got the rocks lined up. Black Dragon's going to move it out of the danger zone. And a very, very calm movement there for Black Dragons. Will be gifted. Gold Fury goes their way. Shank goes their way as well. And Addons could find his 3rd death. But Kliz does not want to chase under the tower just yet.
Doesn't have the ultimate. Kliz not going to attempt that one. Oscha could be in a lot of trouble because here comes Kliz, Nann, and PIBE getting the slow up, forcing the recall. Demons, Aegis buying him a moment. Rest of Black Dragons relinquishing the kill.
Yeah, and it's what you can do about Zhong, right?
A tanky Zhong with 40 protections, a decent amount of health with a Warlock staff. You don't want to tussle with him unless you know for sure you're going to find the kill. And in that scenario, you're not having too much penetration in these builds. zGonnZ going for the hastened katana, looking for some critical strike. Needs to get some more penetration before he takes away some of these ghosts.
Another reason why Kliz's Amaterasu selection is all that more valuable.
Absolutely. Just the mobility, being able to ping pong from left to right, having the... Because without any other character, you're not going to be even in that position to go onto this Zhong. And with the passive specifically onto Amaterasu, you get the 3 strikes on the same target, and now 10% damage amplification from the rest of your characters. And that's going to help Nann, especially MarcelZ.
zGonnZ going here for the katana build, the hastened katana. Seems to be 2 approaches when it comes to Mercury. Either just raw power and hope to one-shot him, or the chase down potential. And I like the chase down potential approach because that Zhong is going to be so very tanky, and Shank is going to provide healing to his teammates. So even if you do get that one punch man out, they might heal it back up. So zGonnZ looking for the extended engagements. Although so far, hasn't really had to do so. Top of the player damage, he's just been bopping him on the head.
It's true. A lot of just safety for Oscha on the right side of the map, being able to stack this Warlock staff. Already 75% of the way done exactly on the dot. Just needs about 4 more waves. So in about 2 minutes time, at 15 minutes, this Zhong is going to have that fully stacked up Zaze on the retreat, 2 levels behind MarcelZ. And this is where the steroid from the Artemis becomes an issue. The movement speed, able to catch up with the Jing.
Love the vision coming out from Black Dragons. 1 on the purple buff, 1 on that entranceway to the jungle in case people want to take it the old-fashioned route. But you see MarcelZ push all the way up because he's so safe. He knows where they're at. There's even help a little bit deeper. And as soon as he sees Ratatoskr near that purple buff, peels backwards, knows he does not want to get in trouble.
Tekzy just can't make the plays with the Ratatoskr the same way zGonnZ was able to do in Game 1. I like the idea, though, that Athletico had by stripping that global pressure away from the Brazilian jungler, but zGonnZ finding a secondary global with the Sonic Boom. This Mercury has been able to make a huge impact at 4-1-1, part of 5 of the 6 team's kills.
Well, Nann in trouble under the tower, going to be avoiding the knockup thanks to the beads, avoiding the damage thanks to the Aegis, and avoiding death thanks to the support. PIBE with the Scarab's blessing, and zGonnZ sends Tekzy back to the sin bin.
Overextending PIBE at the right place, as was zGonnZ, and MarcelZ in the right place because he was not needed for that mid-encounter, granting his team an additional 500 gold. And Zaze is 4 levels behind. He can't even walk up to this Artemis.
Well, he's going to do that. avoiding the knockup. There's a hail of arrows.
No,
Here comes
do it.
Tusky.
Don't do it.
Tusky!
Don't do it, my guy. Zaze, you just got to let that one go, man. 4-level deficit in solo lane, maybe, sure. Like, you're not going to kill a solo laner anyway, but an Artemis versus a Jing or any hunter versus any hunter, glass cannons alike will fall very quickly.
15 minutes into this one. Black Dragons with lucky 7 kills, but no luck as to why they've been up this far. It's been all earned. Pyromancer falling to the wayside after that exchange, and it puts them 6,200 gold in the lead here, Toli. Last time around, this was back and forth. Athletico took control of the early game, and it was back and forth, and eventually Black Dragons wrestled it out in the back. But today, everything coming up Millhouse for Black Dragons.
And Black Dragons were the one that gave up the first blood to start off this game. zGonnZ put himself a little out of position, getting punished by both Addons and Tekzy, but Athletico were not able to really extend that lead any further than it already was. The fact that PIBE is making more of a presence than Shank. When Shank tried to kill PIBE under that tier 1 mid tower, he kind of crushed through his monolith too early. I believe the duration of the monolith lasts for 10 seconds or so, and when you have such a great path blocker like that, cutting off Khepri to get back to his tier 1 tower, that in itself can be used to get the kill instead of the root.
Shank gets wrapped up with the maximum distance from the Mercury.
That crit.
zGonnZ does have to back off thanks to the threat of the stun. But that opens up Gold Fury, and you ever watch an Artemis and a Mercury take care of a Gold Fury, Anatoly?
That happened in 3 seconds. I kind of wanted to turn on my stopwatch for that one, or just count some Mississippis, because it felt like the crits were just rolling on through. Rage completed from both of these critical strikers.
Yeah, you can count your Mississippis, but everything coming up Oklahoma from Black Dragons here, as they're pushing up the mid lane tier 1 tower. Tekzy does have a great angle. He needs to wrap around here before his support dies. Instead, he's going to walk into the middle of all of the bullets and get pushed down and pushed away. zGonnZ picks up 1, but zGonnZ is killed. That's a big deal. Too bad MarcelZ answers back 4-2 as far as the live player count is concerned.
They're going for more F. They want a tier 2 tower potentially. They're a little low for fire jump, but they have the DPS. Steal potential, not really there considering Addons had to back. And even if he was, he doesn't have the petrify. And using this raw sustain for healthy Black Dragons, looking for the fire giant.
Nobody here can defend. BD taking Gigante de Fuego. The Black Dragons just way above anywhere Athletico are looking right now. 10 grand in their pockets above the opposition, and Nann providing the damage. He's number 4 in the charts. Nann providing the healing. He's got about 9K under his belt, and that's the amount of gold he's got as well above the opposition. Zaze is going to do what he can and provide 500 for the team, but it's a drop in the bucket here, Anatoly.
It's looking rough for Athletico. Australia has not had a good time historically in some of these international lands, and it has still continued to be the case. Black Dragons will probably win this game and look to advance in the lower bracket.
18 minutes in. Black Dragons making this one look like it's going to be a short one. Athletico still want to stretch it to game 3, and they do have some late game hopes in their Zhong, and of course the late game Jing certainly worth noting.
The problem is they don't have that long distance range to really start clearing the same way that Nann can, right? With the raw, you're looking for like the Thoths, the Giannis's, any sort of long range capabilities, but a Medusa has to be generally close to the melee minions to splash onto the archers. Tier 2 tower being aggressed in the solo lane. Black Dragons using their fire giant for an additional 2.5 minutes. The rest of the Athletico recognize Kliz looking for the flank, are giving up the tier 2 tower.
I have to decide which team I want to tip my hat to, because I love the itemization from both supports here. Shank, understanding his team is behind the 8-ball, going to be pushed on fighting under towers. Purchase the Emperor's armor. That's going to stop the siege at least a little bit, and at this point you're looking for anything possible. It might be a band-aid over a bullet wound, as Tiger would say, but it's a nice look. And then across the way, hats off to PIBE. Double Hunter, Witchblade. That's
Absolutely.
the thought process I need to see.
And then we're seeing some more anti-attack speed with the Merguardian male Kliz trying to make sure that if he gets hit, that'll get taken from the double hunters. But on the flip side, Oscha going for spectral armor. When I saw the silver breastplate, I'm like, oh, okay, breastplate of Valor, get 20% cooldown reductions, very cost effective. But against a Mercury and a Artemis that had rage already completed at that point, great pickup.
Very rare we see that one. Not so rare we see Shank die, unfortunately. Death number 3 for the support. Zaze dies very quickly. Ratatoskr makes it to the sky just in time. Here comes Shank. Oscha with the ultimate, and MarcelZ shutting him down. Kliz with the double kill, and this could be it for Athletico.
It very well could be, Tom. They have the late game damage. Only zGonnZ not having the fire giant buff around his waist, and this Titan is going down quick.
Black Dragons above Athletico on the back of their jungler, and zGonnZ with the win. Perfect play from Black Dragons in game number 2.
Whether it's the Ratatoskr or the Mercury, he is using this global pressure to assist his side lanes. Even despite giving up the first blood, he was able to bounce back mentally and just put on quite the show.
Yeah, rough game number 2 for Athletico. But these guys did look strong in game number 1. Again, it is their first time in LAN for a couple of these players, so they do have to pat themselves on the back for at least the first one. Last time around, Coach Cutie was at home. He was watching from the sidelines, unfortunately unable to make it out of the qualifiers from PAX. This time they make it to LAN one step at a time. Black Dragons stepping over the Oceanic region and taking it to them.
Well, they got a big journey ahead of them because this is the first step in the lower bracket. They still have about 3 more matches to go, and then the finals if they can get there.
Loving what these guys have brought. The international team's going to go ahead and shake their hands, and this is the type of performance that Black Dragons need to go into some of the more deeper competition that they've got ahead of themselves. You know, the first time around, it came close, but they still lost. This time, they're a little bit more practice, and again, just watching these guys do it, we've got a little bit more hope for them in the later rounds.
And Black Dragons just really unify their team composition. They covered the late game with both the Mercury and the Artemis, but then also having the defensive options of this Khepri, something that's definitely risen in popularity in both Europe and North America, now trickling into the international side.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the wonderful play that PIBE had in the middle lane, keeping Nann alive right there. After Nann did everything he could to keep himself alive, was it MVP worthy? That's the question I posed to y'all out there in Mixer chat. His play has stepped up from day number 1. zGonnZ, who was nowhere to be seen in day number 1, I was very critical. Today could be the focal point of this squad. Game number 1 absolutely was. Game number 2, a couple more contributors, but I mean, that's a big deal for me, totally, is the jungler turnaround.
Well, Season 5, it's all about the junglers, and zGonnZ needs to step up if he wants his team to make it further in this tournament.
Great stuff from Black Dragons. Congratulations to them. Let's break it down on the desk.
Well, outpicked, outscaled, outclassed is what we really have to say about that. Black Dragons find the 2-0 victory there. We knew from picks and bans it was going to be an uphill struggle here, Ryan.
They made it look really easy. I mean, even the little moments where it looked like, oh, maybe Athletico could get something going. You know, they commit a ton on a diving Nann in the mid lane. Beads, Aegis, he's about to die, and then PIBE is in the perfect spot. I mean, this was clinical from Black Dragons. This is exactly what I think a lot of players expected from this squad, and Athletico just wasn't up to snuff here.
Yeah, looking back at the game, though, zGonnZ died for that first blood, and then it just seemed to make him very, very angry.
Yes.
And from that moment on, he went round everywhere, as Mercury should, destroying hopes and dreams of a region.
There were a lot of hopes and dreams shattered, for sure. Addons the only one with any kills on Athletico. And Nann's positioning was so good. That's what you expect from him. That's kind of what I was hoping to see from Addons in game 1 of that set, that long distance, you know, snipes and that kind of stuff. Nann's positioning was so good. The one time they had a chance to kill him, PIBE was there.
Wait, 1 second. What production?
Kliz MVP? Is that what I just said?
Kliz?
The one and only?
Kliz got MVP?
What do you mean? He gave him the Klizness.
He did less than 7k damage. How are people voting him for MVP?
Because of what he brings to the team and his winning smile.
Memeing?
His winning smile.
Well, it was a winning smile, I should say. That was the one rotation where he got a kill. Good job. Well done, Mix and Chat, for that. That was the play that turned it around for his team.
Sure
to
was.
be fair, it's Amaterasu, and I think Tom
Look
was
at
right
that.
when we were talking about this too, about the extra mobility he's given to his team. Not just that, but the extra bit of sustain too.
Yeah, and there we see right there, PIBE's using that ultimate just as that speed boost for zGonnZ to give him that extra little bit of damage. A good little preview of what we talked about a little bit during pitch.
Kliz is going to get big head over that now. You can see that's going to happen, right?
What? As if Kliz could get any more of a superstar status.
That's a good point. He
Come
is the most well-known. So that is that one in the bag. Athletico, Black Dragons move on. So far today, we have lost Get on My Level from Southeast Asia and Oceania. So the eastern side of the world not doing so well so far. We'll see if Europe can kind of, answer some of that. In the grand scheme of things, the most east place now.
Maybe. I mean, this is kind of what we expected, though. These are the two international teams that we see come to just about every LAN, and we see have really good games against SPL teams that from time to time, they still get blown out from time to time, too. Don't get me wrong, but I think that it's encouraging that Black Dragons and Nocturnes continue to have success and continue to prove that they are worthy of a lot of the hype that they get from outside of NA and EU.
Now, the lower bracket basically is over with for now. We'll come back to that tomorrow. But for today, we get to move on to the upper side of the bracket, too. We get to see some of the EU and NA teams take on their first steps. Best of threes again for the rest of the day, and losers of those don't go home. They go down to the lower bracket to face off against these teams. Which team out of these two that we've seen then in the lower bracket of Nocturnes and Black Dragons are the favorites to advance any further?
Man, I would have said Nocturnes coming into this tournament, but Nocturnes really struggled yesterday, and so I think that I'm a little bit less bullish on them. Black Dragons looked really, really good in Game 2, not so good in Game 1. I think they both need to improve their play if they have any hope of beating an SPL team, but I still think Nocturnes has a little bit more experience, and it is just going to be a little bit better.
Well, Kliz is standing by, the MVP, alongside Nann to give an interview about how that set went from the Black Dragons' point of view.
We're here with Black Dragons, Kliz from the solo lane, Nann from the mid lane. Congratulations on your victory over Athletico. What did it take to beat these Australians for you guys today?
And I think we started really slow and we got like a really bad start on the first game. So we had to stabilize that game in order to be able to win later. And then we dropped like a Fire Giant, which was like a big problem as well. But I think once we calmed down and like remember what we should do with our comp and like how we should beat them, I'm pretty sure the games went fine after that.
I kind of took a leap on the cast, and from what I see, it seems like there's a lot of personality on the team, but Nann, you seem to be the guy in the middle, the stoic statue. Do you reel your team in when everybody gets excited? Is that you, or is it somebody else?
Everybody in our team knows how to deal with the emotions and with the gameplay, but I'm usually the guy who talks a lot, and sometimes I try to put them forward, and sometimes just to calm down, like Kliz said.
So speaking of the Fire Giant steal, in game number 1, what did you guys see that allowed you to defend your tier 2 tower so successfully, leading to the deicide?
We knew we were not that far behind on gold because we had it recovered by that point. And as long as we could defend like 5v5, we were confident that our team comp would be better in a fight. And then I'm pretty sure they just like dove because we had 3 people at the moment. But we had like Rat coming over with his ulti and me coming from the back, so that was like a pretty easy flank to do.
And I think they just had Fire Giants in 3 people, so.
We see a lot of you guys, Kliz and Nann, and you guys do very well on field as well. Yesterday, PIBE and zGonnZ seem to have had not the greatest day here at LAN. Today, what a turnaround. What kind of happened between day number 1 and day number 2 to elevate your jungler and your support?
I think we just try to have a better communication, and I mean, yesterday, Zhong just arrived yesterday, so he was really tired. I think that's why he didn't play that well, because he usually plays really well. And I don't know, I think our dual lane does always pretty well. I remember at the last LAN, and they were really close against Jeff and Barrett, that everybody says that's the best duo, and they did pretty well. And they did pretty well against Rival too. They always do pretty well.
One last question before we let you guys go. Your next opponent is going to be the winner between Energy versus Space Station Gaming. Who would you rather face and why?
I never played against Manic in a competitive game, so maybe that.
Well, Well, thank you so much for your time, Kliz and Nann from Black Dragons. Congratulations and best of luck in the remainder of this tournament.
Thank you.
you.